Hey gang, welcome to the pod. Bet you're here to listen to some sports talk. Bet you love sports, huh? Bet you love sports so much you even bet on sports. Bet some people might even say you have a betting problem. That it's starting to cause a rift in your relationships. Maybe that you can't even enjoy simple pleasures in life unless there's a wager at stake. Not us though. We'd never say those things. This is a safe space. In fact, we might even dedicate a whole pod to sports betting. Is this that very pod? You bet your butt it is. This is Jonesing for Sports. Let's smash some hits.
Welcome to the Jonesing for Sports podcast.
Boys, we gotta... Go ahead.
I would have really liked it if you did that whole thing and said, is this that pod? No.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Just off the wall. Oh, man.
Well, boys, we got a fun one in store today. I think things have been really fun lately, just with how much sports betting has been taking place in the Discord, in the Jones Sports Discord with the boys. And we got a lot to talk about today in terms of that. But first, as always, I do believe we got a shower thought. Let's get some shower talk about a shower thought out of the way. Brandon, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I would like to know what product placement in a TV or movie has actually impacted you, like made you want that thing. Because usually product placement, for me, it's just completely like, it's stupid, and I would never be like, wow, I really want that now. So some examples of really like product placement that's super funny to me is in the TV show Community, they build entire episodes around like Subway or I believe it was Toyota, the car. I can't remember what brand it was. I guess maybe that product placement wasn't good enough, but there was an entire plot around buying the Toyota or whatever one it was. And I think that's good product placement because it actually is a part of the story instead of like, oh, look, everyone's drinking this one drink. And so I'm curious, is there any product placement you can think of that actually like incepted you where you're like, I actually now want this?
Product placement does usually kind of take me out of it. Like if I see it obvious, I'm like, all right, this might not be that quality of what I'm watching.
This is a Coke commercial.
They needed more money to make this. It's not that good.
So I think that like if it's going to be good product placement, it's supposed to be subtle or should be subtle. And that's because it's supposed to be like your subconscious thoughts. It's not like, oh, Coke, I'm going to go buy one. And so if it was actually successful, I don't think you'd really know it. But when it's really in your face like that, I think, it definitely turns me off from it.
So, Code, this is both of those things you just said. This is in your face, but subtle enough where I never thought of this as product placement. Dumb and Dumber, where he goes, big gulps, eh? Well, see you later. Never thought of that as product placement, but technically it definitely is, and that's one of maybe my most quoted movie lines. So,
and you would say you actually you crave big gulps because of that?
I can't say I've ever went like, I need to go get a big gulp.
I think it's just positive brand awareness.
Okay.
Yeah.
If Trav was taking a survey on his support for big gulps, it would be 5 out of 5.
Yeah, really high.
Would he buy a big gulp? Probably not. I don't know, Bren.
Do you have one,
Bren?
Bren?
Good answer to that.
I do have one. After I watched the Transformers movie, if I was to rank the coolest cars, a yellow Camaro would have been like at probably the top of the list. I thought that the yellow Camaro Bumblebee was so cool. Obviously, when that movie came out, I was young and had no money, and so I was not going to purchase a Camaro, but the amount of like coolness factor that car went up for me was astronomical. Because before I didn't even really know what a Camaro was, and then now, and it's still to this day, I'm like, yeah, that's a sharp car. So I think that was some pretty effective product placement for the Camaro.
Definitely agree. You think the yellow Camaro is the best Camaro?
It is now. Is there any other Camaros that have transformed into a action figure that can save your life?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And if you get a yellow Camaro, women who are 10 times out of your league will somehow just hang around you. And then she'll break up with you because of she doesn't get cast for the next movie. And then another supermodel will take interest in you. So Camaros, they're doing something.
Shia LaBeouf in Transformers
He pulls.
was the ultimate puller. Like
Icon.
Shia LaBeouf's great, and probably in real life because he's a superstar, maybe he pulls, but he's a dork, and especially in those movies, he was like made to be a nerd. And he had Megan Fox, and then when they broke up, he got a hotter girl.
Who also turned into a robot, right?
No,
that
was
a
the
different
other girl.
Yeah,
that was the college temptress.
Sloot bot.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was.
Here's the thing. You're going to be thinking about this, and then it's going to hit you
Optimus
later
Sloot.
on. Like,
I was trying to
oh,
think. Of
I
another
didn't
way
even
to do
realize I
that.
got incepted by that movie.
The thought bot. Yeah, I'm gonna be. I'm gonna be looking for that now. I'm sure there's so many different ones. That's a good question.
I'm just running through robot sloot names. Mega Sloot.
It's probably for the best that we don't keep pulling on that thread. Maybe.
I don't know. That thread's begging to be pulled. All right. Good shower thought, Bran.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
This is way deeper, I would say, than our typical shower thought. So, good
Probably
that
not
we-
one that you can maybe pull off the top of your head. So maybe not a good shower thought, but
Yeah, I definitely
Now-
felt pretty worthless there. So thanks.
thinking about it.
But
everyone who watches and listens to this is going to be really thinking about it now. So next time we see a Coke bottle in a movie, we're going to be like, thanks, Bran. Now I want Coke.
I think you guys have seen those episodes of Community, right?
no, I haven't seen all of Community.
Yeah, so I
By
shook
the
my
way,
head,
it's
yes.
Honda. It's not Toyota.
I don't remember the Honda episode, though, and I've watched through
Oh my
Community
gosh.
a lot.
It is so good. So
What
you
happens in
remember
that one?
So the guy who he takes on the identity of Subway so that they can open up the sandwich shop, he comes back later episodes, and he is now a spokesperson for Honda. And he's basically just in conversations around the campus because he's like, you know, a super bubbly personality. He'll just talk to people and make them feel heard, and then he'll just talk about how great his Honda is. And before you know it, like half the campus has bought a new Honda, and that's his whole job, is just to talk up Honda. And the dean has bought 7. He's bought a whole fleet for the college, and he's a level 7 susceptible that they're taking advantage of. And it's hilarious. And of course, you know, Britta's trying to change him, and it's quality television is what it is. And there's Subway episodes, there's Honda, and then they even make up like the chips that they use. They don't actually product place for Lay's, but their chips are Let's. And then they do whole commercials for Let's chips or, you know, Splingles. And it just kills me. I think it's
That
the
sounds
best
straight out of
TV.
Rick and Morty.
Well, why is that, Code?
Yeah, it's the same creator actually, but
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that sticks in the old brain, and then you start to think about, you know, what product placement actually works, because those ones are funny, but I never craved Subway after watching that episode. In fact, they kind of make Subway out to be pretty gross. They literally take on a human identity, take over his life. But anyways, that was just a little bit of a weird rabbit trail I went down.
So is the key that it needs to be funny? That's kind of
No, I think those were bad. They were good for the television. They were bad product placement because I didn't want a Honda or I didn't want Subway. But they were good for television. What Travis said is right. You shouldn't know that you're being advertised to. In Transformers, I just thought, of course, like his Transformer is really cool, so he's going to turn into a cool car. And I didn't think to myself, yeah, Camaro probably paid them a decent chunk of change for Bumblebee to be a Camaro, because he could have been a Mustang or he could have been a Lamborghini. So that's an example that I thought, like, I didn't really think about it. I just was like, cool car. So yeah, I think Travis kind of nailed what good product placement is, and it's hard to pull off, I think.
Well, I'll give Cody credit there because I think he was the one who said it needs to be subliminal. But I kind of like the cheesy car placements as well, like in James Bond movies or Fast and Furious, where they like literally have a zoom in on the car and the car has its own like scene where it's just a commercial. They're just like, oh, look at this sick car.
I guess I should have done more prep on this, but just another example I just thought of that
Prep
maybe
for your
you
shower
don't-
thought.
I know.
What is this pod?
you just maybe you noticed this when it happened, maybe you didn't. When Tony Stark finally gets back to America after being in the cave, remember where he goes?
Burger King.
Burger King for
He goes to Burger King.
Yeah.
And that's product placement, but at the time I actually didn't really think too much about it. But I also don't think I was craving burgers either. But
That's a really good product placement because, like, when you're stuck and starving in space, and when you finally get home, all you want is the realest, most American food, the Whopper.
they started that back in the original Iron Man, then returned to it in Endgame. So yeah, it's a full circle product placement there.
Wow, I've never thought about that. That's a fun one. I like that. Good on them.
It's just good writing.
Yep. Good writing, Burger King.
Honestly, though, I think Whoppers
Burger
suck.
King.
Just my hot
Burger
take.
King is the king of marketing, by the way. You guys ever hear of the Stevenage Challenge?
No.
That's in FIFA.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was FIFA 20. Burger King became the sponsor of this really lowly England club, Stevenage. They're like the lowest club you can actually play in FIFA. And so they sponsored them, and then they put forth the Stevenage Challenge. And it was for you to do like career mode or dynasty essentially, and bring Stevenage all the way up to the EPL and win the league.
Okay.
And so then all the time you just run around with these players that have a massive Burger King logo on the chest.
That's
And it's
really
like-
smart.
Oh, it's super smart. Guess what team I chose? Stevenage. I don't even like Burger King, but I was like, that looks fun.
I like that.
Soon enough, he got Messi running out at wing, putting up 35 in a season for Stevenage and Burger King. It's genius.
That's not too far off because now he's at Inter Miami.
Seriously, though. What a time.
What a time. I made
Now they're talking about Modric going over to there now soon.
no way.
Stevenage or Inter Miami?
Inter Miami. Inter Miami. Yeah, he's getting up there. So
I'm
he's
thankful for
starting
the
to think
Miami.
retirement.
I'm thankful for the Miami hype because I just sold a Messi card on eBay, and I haven't sold a card before last week, so that was kind of fun.
Heck yeah, brother. That's pretty cool. Trav's got quite the collection. Very impressive. There was a part of me that was a little sad when I heard that you sold it, though,
Oh, me too.
because I remember you pulling that card. Was it did you say it's a 1 of 10? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's a 1 of 10 Leo Messi. It was a pretty cool card. Pulled it at the parents' house, just in the living room,
Bonkers.
It's very cool.
and then I sold a Anthony Edwards rookie card, which he's good, but his rookie cards are going for ridiculous amount. This one specific rookie card was going for ridiculous amounts, and I pulled this back when superfan Jaron and I were trying our hand at making a sports card YouTube channel. And I have a video of pulling this Anthony Edwards card. I have no clue at the time that I pulled an awesome card. And I opened it, I was like, oh, cool, Anthony Edwards. I have like no... I was like, I think this is a good card.
No inflection.
But
Just
yeah.
like, oh, neat.
Yep.
Anthony Edwards, he's I think going to be okay.
Real quick thought. What's your favorite card that you've ever had in your collection, both of you?
Easy
Doesn't-
answer for me.
I know Trav's.
You know mine?
Yeah. It's got to be your Miggy pull, right?
It's Miggy.
No.
It's not Miggy?
Okay,
All right.
so the Miggy is the best favorite pull, but my favorite was it was a 96 Fleer Gold Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders. I'm an idiot. You've told me that.
It was the first Barry
That's
card
clean.
I ever got, and I knew nothing about cards. I just knew I loved Barry Sanders. And I carried that card everywhere with me, and I still have it. And it is, if I got it graded, it would grade it like a 0.5 out of 10. It is, you could tell a child carried this around in his pocket all the time. And so just recently, like earlier this year, I bought that same card on eBay, just to have a good version of it. So that's my favorite card.
Brand, I'll give you a little bit more time to think. My favorite was a Michael Jordan jersey card that I got from Nate. Trav knows what I'm talking about.
I gave it
acquired-
away. Sorry, Code.
What?
Keep going.
I acquired it in a trade from Nate. Surprisingly, it was kind of like a tail end piece to kind of even things out. It wasn't the primary focus of the trade. And that's because it was a regular Michael Jordan card that had some cloth glued to the front of it, and it looked awful. It was the most ratchet looking, like, it wasn't a jersey card, but I just thought that was so funny, and I wanted it, so it just cracks me up. That's the first card I even think of when I think of like my old collection. I could still find it somewhere. I think it's at the parents' house, but that's one of the first ones you'll see. It's just like, oh, Michael, nope, that is worth nothing.
Oh, it's probably going to be a tie
Okay,
between my holographic first edition Charizard
I knew it.
and my Brett Favre rookie card. None of those are in my possession. I had a stack, like a few inches thick of cards that were, autographs, jerseys, and rookies of great players. I don't know. I'm sure that they disappeared into a different dimension, or maybe Mom threw them away. I don't know, but
That is the betting favorite that Mom just chucked him.
I choose to believe that there's a different dimensional being that's enjoying them, because there were some really nice cards in there. A lot of really good rookies, especially. But yeah, Brett Favre was my favorite player growing up. Even though he was on the Packers, I liked the way he played. It was just exciting. It's kind of actually similar to like Pat Mahomes now, except Brett Favre threw more interceptions. It was very exciting to watch, and that card was near and dear to my heart. But yeah, both those cards. I mean, when you get Charizard, you just know you got the best Pokemon card. I was like, that was more desirable than like a Mewtwo. So, and maybe you said sports cards, but
No, I didn't.
that was okay. But
I mean, we can play back
holographic
the tape,
Charizard
but I
and my
intentionally
rookie
tried
Brett
not to
Favre.
say it.
I think I'll give them the tie.
I'm glad you went there because, I mean, we've had quite a few Pokemon cards to not mention. But this is on me. We're going to have to start adding timestamps to these because it's high time that we actually start talking about some sports. And so to kind of get us into our topic of discussion, which is sports betting, we want to start off by talking about the pick'em picks for this week. We're going to get out ahead of that this week. So yeah, we apologize for the bye last week. We're coming back with a vengeance now. Boys, let's go ahead and get right into our pick'em action, pick'em games for the week. First up on the docket, we have Michigan versus IU. Michigan coming in as 33.5-point favorites. Boys, what are your thoughts on that one?
Do you want to give thoughts on each pick, or do you want to lay them all out at once?
I would say just passing thoughts on each pick, unless you think strongly otherwise.
IU
My
sucks,
heart-
but Michigan has a hard time covering.
Yeah.
Yeah. My heart says that Michigan is rolling now, but also 33.5 points is more points than Michigan has scored in the majority of their games this year.
Yeah.
So
It's a good
that's
line.
a tough one.
That's
Indiana stinks, though.
that's one I would not take straight up. I would tease it for sure. So I actually can't really say I lean one way or the other. So that's gonna be a tough one. Interested to see which way everybody falls on this, which side of that we all fall on. Next, we got MSU versus Rutgers. That is looking like it's going to be a 5.5 spread in the favor of Rutgers. This is a game Brandon and I are both pretty intrigued by, I think. I wanted to pick this as one of my locks just because I believe so little in MSU. And the more I looked at Rutgers, I realized that they're going to be playing right into MSU's hands, and this is a game that's just going to be straight up butt ugly. So I am just like, the sicko part of me is just can't wait to watch it, but I really am not sure which way this one's going to unfold.
I'm just going to tell you in the lock section which way that's going.
Let's go.
I love that. Okay, I was not a man enough to take that stance, so I'm glad that you're going to go there. Next, we have Oregon versus Washington in what is clearly the game of the week, maybe even game of the season. Up till this point, Washington looking like they are 3-point favorites. That one's going to be a lot of fun to watch, boys.
Yep, game of the season, because I think the winner of this game is in the playoff.
The winner of this game is in the driver's seat for the Pac-12, which is going to lead to a playoff because it's the deepest conference. And the winner of this game is also in the driver's seat for the Heisman Trophy. So a lot of implications here.
Wow.
I am kind of hoping for a Washington win because of the two teams to remain undefeated after this game. I think Washington has the better chance. Oregon I see as a team that is a little bit more volatile, and maybe that's just past season bias talking. I think Washington is just solid all around. But regardless, like you said, driver's seat of the conference, I want to see a Pac-12 team in the playoff. I think it's fun to have these teams in contention. It's a bummer when they cannibalize themselves, and especially for it being the last season of the Pac-12, it'd be a fitting send-off. Or actually, a fitting send-off would be if none of them make it, honestly. But it'd be a fun send-off if one of them was in the playoff. So,
question on this. Never mind. Keep going. It's a question.
No, that was it.
Next game.
That was it. Oh, next. Okay. So next up on the docket, we do have UCLA versus Oregon State. Looks like Oregon State is coming in as 4-point favorites in that one. Boys, any thoughts?
Stay away.
Yeah, I agree. I would stay away. UCLA is unpredictable. Fun to cheer for, but Oregon State gonna finish first or second in the Pac-2, so they're hot.
Yeah, I honestly just hate how much Pac-12 action we have in this list of games, which probably means there's.
Yeah, I love it.
I hate it for my record because I am trying desperately to cling on to near 50%. And this is going to make it that much harder. But moving on from that, we have USC and Notre Dame. Notre Dame as 2.5-point favorites in that one. That one, I think, is a highly compelling matchup. This is my number 2 game of the week, and I cannot wait to watch what happens here.
Who do you guys hope loses that game?
I hope Notre Dame loses. Simply for the point of Ohio State is very proud of their very near loss against Notre Dame. So their victory over Notre Dame. Why do I keep saying Notre Dame? I am so bad at this pod. My words just fall apart. Notre Dame, that victory over them is going to look so much less significant if they just continue to spiral and lose game after game. And so I definitely am rooting for USC there.
Is USC their game against Arizona last week?
Triple overtime.
Arizona's not good, right?
No, and USC had help from the officials on a few critical plays, so that's why I'm almost rooting for USC to lose because I just want them. I want their fraudulence to be exposed fully, and I think it already has because people aren't. I mean, they're not favorited to beat Notre Dame, who already has 2 losses. But it still bothers me that they have a flawless record. They shouldn't. They're half a team. One half is really good, and one half is terrible. This defense is terrible. So please, I just want them to lose. If Notre Dame ends up losing, I won't be upset because, yes, Cody gave some really good reasons there. Plus, I just don't like Notre Dame in general. I'm happy when they lose, but man, I want USC to lose and drop out of the rankings, and we can just stop talking about USC. Be gone, wannabe.
Fair enough. And finally, we have North Carolina versus Miami. North Carolina coming in as the 3.5 favorites to close out our pick'em. Any final thoughts on that, boys?
Miami had the worst ending to a game last week than ever.
Yeah.
How do you not
Coach
know
is a
that
moron.
you just take a knee, end the game, you run a play, and you end up losing because you didn't take a knee? What?
It's going to be hard to come back from that.
Or you got something to prove that you're not a moron and your team is actually good, so you're trying to overcome. This could be a big game for them because before that knee incident, people thought that they were a good team, at least a fighting team. And then you do that, and the narrative switched. So this could be their chance. I'm just saying this is a realm of possibility that happens. I think North Carolina is also kind of clicking right now. Syracuse proved that they can put up points this year. North Carolina put the smack on them. So I think North Carolina is pretty legit. I'm going to take – I won't say it. Yeah, I'll take North Carolina in that one.
I'm probably leaning that same direction, but I think it's going to be an intriguing matchup no matter what. But it sounds like there's a good amount of uncertainty, not just with that matchup, but with this whole slate of matchups. Pac-12 is chaos, and should be a pretty fun week of pick'em. So we'll get those posted tonight for you guys to get on. But let's turn our attention to some picks that maybe aren't so uncertain, boys. I want to hear what your locks are for the week. How are we going to make some cheddar this week in the football world? Give me some of that sweet action. What are those lines that look too good to resist, and you've got your finger on the pulse?
So just to preface this, I never have locks this early in the week. Usually my locks are kind of cemented by Thursday, Friday.
That's fair.
But here are some lines that caught the eye, and we'll call them locks. This is my favorite one. And just to give a little bit of my betting philosophy, it's not traditional. I tend to find one or two plays I love and hammer the crap out of them, and then I'll actually put like a 1 unit play. And when I say 1 unit, I mean like 1/100th of my bankroll on games that I just feel somewhat confident in. And I know this is going to expose me as a gambling, might say casual, but I will do a 10 unit on something I love. And it has been very profitable for quite a few years now, actually. So one that I'm not going to say it's a 10 unit goat whale max, but it could trend that direction by the time this week is over. We'll see. I really, really like Ohio State by 19.5. So Ohio State is giving 19.5 points. So if you're not 100% familiar with how lines work, it's basically saying that Ohio State should win by at least 20 points. And if they were to win by, let's just say, 19 points, then I would lose that bet if I take them by 19.5. So I need them to win, let's say, 40-20. Purdue is really bad. And yes, this game is at Purdue, which is the site of that. I think it was 2018 when Purdue upset Ohio State, and not only upset them, but spanked them. The thing is, Purdue had Rondale Moore, they had Aiden O'Connell.
They had Make-A-Wish powers.
I wasn't going to say that, but they did. It was a special night, and I loved it. And I don't foresee that being a possibility. Ryan Day doesn't lose to inferior Big Ten opponents. In fact, his only Big Ten losses have come against Michigan. And not only that, last week I liked Maryland with, I think they were favored by 20. And that ended up pushing, I think. But Maryland is a lot better than Purdue. And Ohio State played really bad against Maryland and then still won by 20. So I really like Ohio State to just play a mediocre game and still cruise to victory. They still have something to prove offensively, so I think they're going to really let it rip, and Purdue is going to get spanked at home. So that's my first one, and it's probably my most confident pick if I had to say so.
I love that one, Brand, because Purdue was giving up touchdowns and yards to the worst quarterback in the Big Ten last week. So I like your confidence on that.
Who is the worst quarterback in the Big Ten, Trav?
Iowa's backup quarterback.
I don't know. I mean, his stat line was still pretty poor, but there's a pretty big difference between Ohio State and Iowa. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Name two. I'm just kidding. Yeah, there's many differences between those two teams.
Oh, I was so confused.
Yeah, that was poor. Yeah, Brand, I like that play. And to your credit, you're saying maybe this isn't smart gambling. Honestly, like, you look at the pros, they're just trying to be above 50%. You know, they're making money off selling their picks, as if if you were just a little bit more confident in your play and just said, yeah, if you want more juicy picks like that, just subscribe $5 a month and rake that in. Thank you very much. Then you'd be killing it just like
what
they
I'm
are.
saying is that's not a sharp strategy. The sharp bettors will put a consistent unit amount on each pick.
I know. You were saying that it maybe exposes you as a casual or whatnot, and I say it's working for you. And I'm saying the sharps, they're just trying to make 50%, just above it.
Yeah, and I say make 10 to 20 leg parlays and ride them.
We're not here for the sharps picks. We're here for the picks that make sports fun.
Yeah, my lock of the week is a 10-pick parlay. It's Duke, Ohio State, Michigan. No, I'm just kidding. It's not.
I'm disappointed. I was really hoping that you were just going to continue through with that.
I do got a wild NFL betting strategy for you guys. I'll give you later when we get into the Lions, but I think I'm going to try it out this weekend, and I can report back how it goes.
Can't wait.
One of my locks for the week is Duke, North Carolina State. Duke is a 3.5-point favorite, and it's not that I think Duke is just amazing, and I know their quarterback is hurt, but North Carolina State, I think, is just bad. Here's North Carolina's record. Yes, they lost to Louisville in a close one, and Louisville just beat Notre Dame, and Louisville's kind of on the rise. They lost to Notre Dame by 19 points. 21 points, sorry. And we're kind of seeing who Notre Dame is. They lost to Virginia. Both Virginia Tech, hot garbage this year. And you cannot lose to them and tell me that you're a 3.5-point underdog to Duke, who is pretty good this year. Then they beat Connecticut by 10 points in their first game of the year. And people are like, oh, yeah, Connecticut's going to be on the rise this year. No, they're not. UConn is not good. So give me Duke. I think this line is representing Duke's quarterback being hurt. I don't frankly care. Give me Duke 3.5.
Love it, Trav. Love it. One that stood out to me as I was just kind of digging through this slate of NFL games is the Bills versus Giants. I want to take the Bills to go over the point total of 30.5. I think that line may have actually moved down a little bit too. And the reason I say that is because they're playing the Giants, and the Giants have allowed over 30 points in 4 of their 5 games so far this season. And they're playing the Bills. So I'm not really sure where that point total comes from. I think it's just because the Bills, their offense hasn't been fitting the bill for them as much as you would expect from one of the perennial best teams in the NFL. But I do expect them to bounce back against the Giants fairly comfortably, just on account of how terrible the Giants are. So that game should be a bloodbath. I think Bills get over 30.5 quite easily.
Love it.
Well, now I'm upset. I thought we were only doing college. I might have to take a look at some NFL stuff.
It's early. We're just putting something out there for you guys to get excited about. For you degens that you just can't wait until the weekend to start putting down those bets. Actually, not even degenerate behavior. You want to get on the lines early before they move. So this is just something for you guys to get excited about. We can certainly put some more out there at a later point. I had another one that isn't really a lock, so to speak, but one that I'm just going to definitely jump on. And that's because it's just free money. So there is a profit boost right now. It's not a lot of money, but something for the bankroll. There's a profit boost out there right now, 50% profit boost on any Chiefs-Broncos bet. So Chiefs, you tease that favorite. It's 11.5 points. Tease that down to 6.5. Wins by 3 points or 7 points, most common when it's single digits. If you go 6.5, no way Chiefs aren't covering that. Broncos are terrible. That 50% profit boost gets it near even odds, but not quite there. So you're going to make $7 or $8 on it. You can bet I'm using that profit boost for that. Lately, I've been using profit boosts to have irresponsible picks that just don't pan out. So I'm just going to take some money.
That's the smart way to do that. I really like that. Thanks for sharing that because I haven't looked at. That's Thursday night, right?
Should be, yeah.
So I haven't looked at Thursday night, but that's actually where I think you can do. At least I've done really well Thursday nights when there's just one game to focus on. You can really, I think, find the edge a little bit better than when there's 10, 12, 15, whatever.
It's just too much.
It's a lot to take in. So I like that pick. I might take you up on that. I'm going to jump back to college football, and I'm actually jumping into the pick'em. So hopefully this doesn't influence too many people.
Probably will.
Well, because you shouldn't, because as Cody said, this is a game that is tickling the sicko part of our brain. MSU at Rutgers. MSU comes off a bye. Rutgers just played Wisconsin, and their quarterback threw a horrible interception in the red zone. They had multiple turnovers. It was ugly. And yet, I am so in on this game. The thing that is pushing me the direction I'm headed is with MSU off a bye, I do not believe in their coaches. I think that they don't know how to get the best out of this team. And even if they got the best out of this team, there's not a lot to get out of this team. They are starting, at least the rumors on the street, which seem to have been substantiated, is that they're starting a new quarterback against Rutgers. So we're looking at Katon Hauser getting his first start in an away environment. And a lot of people will say, well, it can't be worse than Noah Kim. Can it, though? Can't it, though? I think it might.
Are you sure about that?
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
I am backing the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to win by, I think it was 5 or 5.5. This is not a play that I should give out with confidence because both of these teams are ugly, and when two ugly teams face off, ugly things happen and weird things happen. But I like Rutgers here. I just think that MSU is dead, and they're just throwing anything at the wall to see what sticks. So to start a brand new quarterback, it feels like a recipe for disaster, unless this guy is just, he's got that dog in him. Which, if he had that dog in him, why are you playing Noah Kim so much?
Him.
I like Rutgers here. Just to share a little betting success with you guys, I've been super psyched because I had done really well the past couple of years, and then I cashed out. And it was good, get your money. But also it's sad because then you get to bet a lot less. I left myself $100 in the account, and it was during the off season of football.
That's depressing.
It was depressing. But in order to take that check and put it in your bank account, it's a great feeling. Yeah. And you don't want to give it back, that's for sure. And just this last week of football, I was able to get finally up when I started the football season, I was at about 350, and I just crossed the $1,000 barrier. So we're back on track. We got to keep building so that I can get those units up, because I tell you what, I've got something wrong with me, because when I'm sweating a bet that's $10, yeah, it's enjoyable. When I'm sweating a bet that's $100 or maybe a couple times more than that, oh boy, the blood is pumping, the adrenaline is flowing, and that's the feel-good juice right there.
That intro was for you, Brand.
Yeah. And the thing is,
Yeah.
that is also a recipe for disaster, because when you lose those, it's a bad time. But if you can win them, it's honestly one of the best feelings ever. So we're on the path to maybe being able to put some more monster plays out, which is exciting and scary. And when you're living life on the edge, it gives you a little bit of that jolt. It's
One
like,
of my favorite one of my favorite memories of going to sports with you guys was when we watched Western versus Nevada in the Quick Lane Bowl, and Western was absolutely decimating Nevada. Nobody in that stadium, I don't think, was more than halfway invested in that game. Everybody was just like laid back on their phones. Brandon's on the edge of his seat because he's got a monster bet that he's sweating out in this game that was like a 30-point drubbing.
And when it hit,
Oh yeah,
I would
The
look
night
back
was
at you
made.
guys, and we were all just cheering because we knew Brandon hit that bet.
bet cleared in like what, garbage time with second, third
Yeah.
string players. Like that's when
that
you
was
know
a
you may be in
halftime
too
live
deep.
bet.
Oh,
Shout out
man,
to
That was
Ford
a
Fields
vibes
for
bet.
getting reception.
Live bets I have a love-hate relationship with, because I feel like that's the sign of degeneracy, but also you can really find some steals if you hit it at the right time, because the books are scrambling, the model's like trying to figure out the pattern of what's going to happen, and you can catch them with their pants down. At the same time, you can get in some trouble with live bets too, because at the same time you're trying to make a quick snap decision. But yeah, no judgment, Brand. I think that's hilarious, and I totally relate to the idea of just not having enough in the bankroll. I took out my money from FanDuel to get a pickleball paddle and left myself with like $20, and I was like, I can build it back. But then I was looking at that like, what the H am I supposed to do with this? This isn't fun. Give me a few more hundred and we're in business. So I get you, but it's a beautiful time. I might just start betting with bigger figures. I already have a problem. I don't use units. I use like triple the value of a unit just so it exactly, just so I feel something.
I want to pat myself on the back, just like Brandon, how good he's been doing. Started with $100, got up to about $250, and now I'm back to $140.
That's green, baby.
Funny
Right?
thing is, I was probably trending about like 200 or so positive, and then I started buying Rainmakers cards.
Yeah.
And I could still sell them, but the cards go down in value as the season goes on, and I have yet to make any money from Rainmakers. So, but I mean, it's all play money, so it's, it is what it is. You can't take it with you, right?
Yep. It's
Might as
just
well
money.
burn it up.
It's just money. You can't take it with you.
I have a problem because like Brandon, you got a Hutchinson Rainmaker card just because it's kind of cool to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got like a Josh Reynolds rare, and I was like, that's sweet. But I also thought his value would increase. I got to check that again.
Dude, he's been playing well.
Yeah, so that might
You
have
might
jumped
actually
up.
want to sell that one.
It's I'm planning to. But it is kind of
No.
fun to try and buy low. It's fun to buy low on players and be like, oh, just wait, he's about to skyrocket. I almost bought like 7 Jahmyr Gibbs just because I was like, oh, he's going to be amazing. Boy, am I glad that I didn't, because Dan Campbell hates him. So, it's fun. It's all good fun. But, man, just so exciting.
Since we're talking NFL and just some fun stuff, and Brandon got us talking about hitting
Oh.
that green.
Oh, I wanted to say something real quick. Sorry, Trav. Because we're well past the topic. I wanted to throw something on the opposite side of the MSU Rutgers line. There's something in the back of my mind gnawing at me that I was forgetting to talk about. Just so people aren't swayed too much, Like I said, I was looking into this one. I wanted to make it a lock, but I couldn't because it's a despicable game. But this is beautiful because, it's a classic case of a movable object meets a stoppable force. And you have Rutgers here who's been playing, above their weight, but they can't throw the ball. All they can really do is run the ball. They're 117th, I believe, in passing efficiency. They're like about 50th in rush efficiency. But you know where MSU ranks in rush defense? Right about 34. They can stop the run. They can't stop it through the air. This is going to be two teams, and MSU can't score. So this is just going to be Battle of Mid doesn't do it justice. This is going to be a disgusting display of football, and I can't wait for it. But I do think there's a realm of possibility where Rutgers is just not able to move the football one bit. And we know MSU wouldn't be able to move the football anyways. So could we be heading for like a classic Iowa, South Dakota State type of game from 2022? I don't think so, but if it was something similar to that, I would be very delighted and not entirely surprised. So I will say that I do kind of lean on Rutgers to win that game. I don't know how I feel about them to cover necessarily. This is one where if I was going to bet on it, I would maybe potentially tease Rutgers down to like a 2.5 favorite. I don't know that I love them at 5.5. 2.5, I'd feel comfortable putting money on them, though.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
5.5 could be the spread or the over-under in this game.
And that's why we love it.
Rutgers wins 6-0.
Question on Michigan State.
Oh.
Who is the better gloveless receiver? Malik Carr or Aiden Hutchinson?
Malik Carr, scouts are drooling.
Yeah. Aiden Hutchinson's hands. That pick he had this weekend was amazing. And everything I've seen from Malik Carr.
Listen, we already know what Hutch can offer. Malik Carr is nothing but untapped potential. Sky's the limit.
Untapped.
Oh, what a joke.
They keep trying to hit that bunghole in, and it's not going in the keg, and the keg's just gonna roll off a cliff. He's rough. I have a hard Malik Carr's rough, and apparently the scouts love him.
They're doing
size, his hands, but isn't the bunghole the hole in a keg?
Yeah,
like a
I
wooden
hope so.
keg.
Okay.
Speaking
Just
of the
wasn't ready for that
untapped,
No, that was actually really good. I'm just an imbecile. Keep going.
Malik Carr, Michigan State fans, if you're listening, tell me what you love about him. Tell me if I'm wrong, because, man, he's been rough. And I know everyone thought he was going to be real good and think he's an NFL tight end. How? What makes him an NFL tight end right now? So, that's my little Malik Carr spout off. But what I was going to say was when we started talking NFL, I figured it was a good time to get into my ridiculous NFL. Yeah, real quick. Brandon did just shimmy on screen, so if I need to be interrupted one more time, it might be worth it for Brandon to tell us what he was shimmying about.
I'm sorry. Cody was talking about Rainmakers, which is basically daily fantasy on DraftKings, where you can actually buy the cards of the players and then use them in the matchups. So I thought, hey, I better check mine because I have not entered a contest in 2 weeks because I've just been so focused on betting. And I've been frustrated with it because some contests, it's time locked to a 1 p.m. game, and then my quarterback doesn't play till 4:25 or 4:30 or whatever. And so then I don't have a full team because I don't have a huge deck of players.
You got to buy more, Brand.
I know. I started to look at some of my cards, and I did purchase at the beginning of the season a David Montgomery. And I'm looking at my David Montgomery that I bought for about $2. And now the floor price that he's selling for is about $15. So the percentage increase there is pretty great. So that makes me feel pretty good that even if I don't continue with it, I might just sell this and I'll be way positive of what I've put in. Because I had a couple of the decks that you win, and I sold those. So Rainmakers, even though I haven't won a contest, I've been still making money. So I was very happy when I saw that my Montgomery percentage increase was so high. So that's all that shimmy was. I apologize for distracting you. I was
Nah,
very
It was
happy.
worth it.
That was a good update.
The people needed to know what the shimmy was for.
That's
All right.
what I'll do in the future is just try and just buy players low. Not even for the purpose of playing them, but just seeing like how their value, transfers throughout the season. That'd be kind of fun. But it is cool just having an NFT of some of your favorite players.
Mm.
Go ahead, Trav. Take us there.
All right. If you don't want to do betting Brandon's smart way and you want to make quick money, here's the way, folks. It's not just a parlay. You see all these posts from people online like, this guy made a bet and won $100,000. Like, man, doesn't seem that hard sometimes. Well, it's not, and here's the way. This guy made $135,000 the other day on picking 4 first touchdown scorers of the game.
Trav, no.
So I've got a system. You find the games with teams playing that have the for sure touchdown players. There's teams like 49er. I got a spreadsheet. I was working on it today, folks.
Oh, send it.
There's teams out there that they just spread the ball around and everyone's getting in the end zone. Avoid them. You don't have a clue where that touchdown's going to come from. But then you got teams like the Buccaneers who are playing the Lions. They don't get into the end zone at all. And that might be one to stay away from because Mike Evans is questionable still, and he's one that you would want to potentially bet on. Or you can think of it as making it easier because they already don't got that many touchdown options, and it limits the bets you got to make there. So
Or
my
they just
thinking,
don't get into the end zone.
or they don't get in the end zone. You got to be smart about it. But this is going to have you making a few small bets. Most of them are going to lose. You just need that one to hit with crazy odds. And that 4, you can do it, dumb it down. Do 3 first touchdown scores. And boom, you got $1,000. Just like that, folks. So it might take you making quite a few $1 bets. You can lower it if you want. It just takes one. Also, please bet responsibly. This is not smart. This
It's
is
a little
probably
late for that disclaimer. We've put some crazy leads out there so far.
But I think I'm going to fool around with this one a little bit. Just to, I'm not going to go crazy on it. But I was looking through teams to see how often guys score on their teams. And there's teams where they've got maybe 3 consistent touchdown scorers. And so you make a few different bets based on what you think will happen. You got to mix them around. One of them's going to hit, baby.
Can't wait to see that spreadsheet, Trav. And
I'll look forward to that.
yeah, can't wait to see that that amazing bet slip come
I'll
through
give you guys
in
just
the
a glimpse
Discord.
who's watching. Here's just what I've worked on. I know you're not going to be able to see it. Oop, I can't scroll at all. But
That's
scroll it
about
up and down.
It's about the blurriest thing I've ever seen. There's trying to open your eyes immediately after getting out of a swimming pool, and then there's that.
Yeah, well, it exists, so it's there, and it's gonna hit this weekend. So watch out for that.
I believe.
You got to share actual picks with us so we know how to do this.
My outrageous ones, Brandon said that after I hit that 10 pick parlay and missed the 20 picker by 1, he's like, you got to share these with me, and I'm like, I'm embarrassed by them. Oh man, but they sure are fun, and I usually on college day I usually do make like one long parlay just of picking winners or game spreads, and just treat it like it's a pick'em competition to see how well I know these teams, just kind of as a test of knowing ball, and it's always like $1 on it, but I always view that one as quite a bit of fun.
Did you got anything else, Code?
No, I think that's pretty much it for that segment. But I am really curious to hear some of your thoughts, Brad. And you were telling us before the pod that you pulled together some picks for Michigan and the Lions, some immediate bets, some futures. Some of them looked pretty intriguing. Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, so let's just start with Michigan because there's a lot more for the Lions listed on DraftKings. So the very first one, we'll just start chronologically. Michigan plays Indiana at the Big House this weekend. They're favored by 33.5. We kind of already covered this one, but with the pick'em, I'm leaning Michigan on this one. Like Cody's already talked about, it might be a good one to tease down. But, man, with this Michigan team rolling, the one thing I will put out there is I've seen some reports that maybe the weather might not be good. But also, doesn't that kind of favor Michigan because they've been trying to run the ball more? And I was shocked. They let J.J. McCarthy run the ball. When you let the quarterback run the ball, it makes the defense have to think about so much that it opens up the running backs' lanes as well. So either way, I'm leaning Michigan on this one. If you guys have any thoughts on that, feel free. Otherwise, we'll keep trucking on.
I don't like the point spread, so I would probably, like you said, tease it down a little bit. The one thing, I don't like betting on losers, so I wouldn't choose IU to cover teased up spread. I would just bet Michigan to cover something teased a little lower. But if I wanted to get that closer to even, I might parlay that with a Blake Corum over a teased lower rushing total amount. Not sure what that's going to be for this year, but he did gash them to the tune of about 200 yards last season when they played IU. So IU, just horrible all around, but especially horrible at stopping the run, especially if there's bad weather. I anticipate Corum is going to have his way with that Iowa front four, front seven, whatever. I think he's going to have no problem getting to the second level and maybe beyond. I don't know how many, long TD runs he might have. Like we've said earlier, that initial burst of speed is good. Top end speed hasn't been looking super amazing, but I don't think he should have any problem getting a whole slew of yards on the ground. So I'd be more prone to bet on that than I would this spread.
Early in the season, I would have been scared of this spread, but kind of like Brandon said earlier, Michigan does seem to be rolling right now, and 33.5 points is a lot, but I don't believe in IU, and I do believe Michigan is rolling. So I think I'm probably going to take Michigan in that one, which is opposite of what I've been doing, but they've been playing awesome the last few games. But a lock that we didn't talk about that now the odds aren't going to be crazy because it's just pretty much a guarantee these days. It's great for parlays just to add this in to boost the odds. Blake Corum anytime touchdown is automatic. So if you want to throw a ton of money on it to make some, good for you. But if you just want to have a little seasoning on your parlay to boost those odds, that's a really solid one because he's a touchdown every game kind of guy.
A machine.
Unfortunately, I think the odds on him scoring a touchdown are very, very minimal because they know that. But honestly, I'd put 2 touchdowns for him. I think that can really add some sauce to it. 1 touchdown is it's going to happen. You go 2 Blake Corum touchdowns, the sportsbooks, they're like, oh, yeah, we'll give you money for that. But honestly, it should happen. So,
well, Brandon made money on that 2 weeks ago and did great picking the 2 touchdown Blake Corum game. And then this last week, he also called it that he was only going to score 1. Brandon's got his finger on the pulse of how many touchdowns Blake Corum is going to score.
I didn't call it. I laddered it with the majority of money going on a teased down Michigan spread and a Blake Corum anytime touchdown. But I also put some on 2 and 3 because of the implications of where it would put him in the record books. But anytime touchdown scorer, like Trav said, if you put that with something else, it's been just cash money. So the next one, I maybe I'll have you guys guess a little bit. What do you think the odds are for Michigan to win the Big Ten?
Plus 340.
Trev?
Plus 250.
Well, I might be.
Now, don't look at the picture I sent you.
I wanted to
win
see
the
if I
Big
could
Ten,
remember it.
It is plus 125, so for betting terms, plus odds means that if you were to bet $100, you would win $125 on top of the 100 returned. I was surprised that it was that low. I would have thought closer to 200 or 300, like Cody had said.
For the record, I was
also, I
totally
really
trying to
do
recall
like
the
them
number
to
that
take
you
the-
sent me.
I like them to take the conference. I have already got some bets in from preseason. Would you guys jump on a bet like this now, or do you want to wait it out at those odds?
If you wait it out, I think the odds are going to get worse.
I guess at that point you might just say pass.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to get worse until. Yeah, they're. I don't know.
They could
I guess
get worse
pass.
if Ohio State does nuts. Like if they just go off and people start thinking that if Ohio State is then favored somehow in the Michigan-Ohio State game,
Which would be better.
then you could
Then
get
you'd
better
wanna
odds.
wait.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't see that happening. I think I'd jump on it now.
I think Maryland was like the one trap game. That said, I still think they lose to Penn State. That's still my pick.
Michigan?
No. Ohio State.
Ah.
And so then that just kind of, I don't know what happens then. Does that bolster Penn State's odds enough that I don't think that would hurt Michigan's odds. I think the odds are low enough because there's a very real chance that you have Ohio State or Penn State to win the conference. And as soon as you take one of those teams out of the equation, I think Michigan's odds go up. So I would probably up as in you'd get a smaller return. So I think if you're going to take the bet, I think you should take it now.
Yeah, I'm passing for now, but it's also I do have the off-season, preseason bets that were much greater odds. So I think you're right. It's probably going to get worse than that, but also you do have some time because Michigan doesn't play Penn State until November 11th, I think.
Right.
And then Ohio State at the end of the month. All right, next odds we have to make the playoffs, which is negative 145 odds. That means that you would have to bet $145 to win $100. So negative odds, you're not getting as good odds as the positive. And you'd get plus 115 odds to miss the playoffs. So favored to make the playoffs right now. Anyone jumping on these? I'm sitting those out.
No, I wouldn't want any part of that because if I'm going to pick a team to make the playoffs, I'd want that to be at least positive odds. As good as this Michigan team is, this is still going to be a challenge. You have to beat a very good Penn State. You have to beat Ohio State, which you should never take lightly. And if you drop any one of those games, that could be enough to lose it all. So, yeah, I don't love that.
Trev?
Is it weird that the odds are negative for playoffs but positive for the Big Ten? Like,
No, because there's a very real situation where a Michigan is 11-1, misses the Big Ten championship,
still
and then
gets
can
in.
still back in, just like Ohio State did last year. So it does make sense. Although I don't like their odds. I think they're probably going to get left out in that situation because of a poor non-con. But I can also see why the bookmakers would rate it that way.
well, they'll get left out if they go by ESPN's FBI rankings because they've got Michigan at like 8 or something.
Garbage. Don't even pay attention to those.
That's
Ohio
up quite a bit
State's at
from where they
number
were.
1.
Of course they are.
Alabama is at number 2.
Hey, it's Ohio against the world, though. Don't forget it.
Holy. I don't know. If I had that bet in front of me that I could take right now, I probably would. It seems pretty favorable, the playoff chances right now. So I probably would. You'd like it to be positive, like Cody said, but even with it not being, it's not too bad. Just because I think it's got a good chance of happening. And honestly,
right.
sometimes I try to forget about the odds and just think, do I think this is actually going to happen? Or are the odds swaying me one way or the other? Trying to trust like yourself. And on this one is one where I feel like Michigan is going to do it. And obviously the odds are good that they're going to make the playoffs, but not letting that sway if I should bet on it or not.
I think
Right,
my
but
problem is, real quick,
Go ahead.
Brand, is just that I think, like you said, if they're going to make the playoff, it's got to be because they get in outright, not because they slide in. I think that there's just too many good teams that are going to be making a push for the playoff this year. You quite possibly have a Pac-12 champion who's going to be in there. You got Georgia, you have Florida State, and then the Big 12 champion. So you got a good amount of teams. That's 4 right there. If to slide a 5th one in there is going to be pretty tough. If they're not the Big 10 champion, I'm not sure this is the year to get in like that. So, if I'm picking them to get in, I'm picking them to be the Big 10 champ. So that's the bet that I'd prefer.
On the flip
me
side,
too.
I think this might be the year to get in on that backside. Not because there is a lot of teams vying for it.
And I
But
need
there
to
are
mention
not-
the Big 12.
There are not a lot of great teams this year, and we're only 5 games into the season, 6 games in. There's a lot of big games left to be had, and these teams are going to lose, which always happens. These teams vying. Alabama's already lost one. Texas has already lost one. These teams some of them will lose, and when they do, a one-loss Michigan, I think, does get over them as long as their loss is not bad. I just feel like in the years past there were some really good teams, and you could make an argument for teams because they were legitimately good. Like they were as simple as that. They were good. This year it feels like right now there's 2 playoff teams, and it's Georgia and Michigan, and the other teams are good, but they're not like they used to be. Look at the Big 12 and the teams vying for there. Oklahoma and Texas are solid. Oklahoma already has a leg up on Texas, but Oklahoma also is not great right now. They're not like a powerhouse Oklahoma of the past. I love Dylan Gabriel. I love Andrel Anthony, although Andrel Anthony just had a tough injury. They got awesome offense, but you work through these teams like Florida State in the ACC, they're struggling a little bit here and there. Like, they're almost giving up some games. There's not teams that are just dominant like it feels like there has been in the past. So that's kind of why I'm leaning towards taking that, just because it feels like Michigan is one of the 2 like good like if you were to tier it, I'd put Georgia and Michigan in the top tier, maybe Georgia in the top, Michigan in the next tier, and then the other good teams in that next tier. And that's why I kind of feel good about it. I don't love the odds, but that's why.
Yeah, that's fair. I just do think, like Brandon said, teams should be penalized for having such a weak schedule overall, especially non-con. And I think the committee kind of occasionally thinks that as well. So that could really come back to bite them.
Just a quick update. When I was talking about my David Montgomery, I did list it for sale for $15, and it has already sold. So
Whoa.
that also makes me think maybe I should have held it, but I'm still feeling happy about it. I think he'll probably have a great week against Tampa Bay, and even so, that is I don't even know what the percentage increase from $2 to $15 is, but I'm happy about it. Just wanted to update you and the listeners on that development. I'll move on to the national championship. And Cody guessed these odds earlier because he saw this slip. It is plus 340 for Michigan to win it all. Before the season started, they were at plus 900, and then at one point it dropped down, I think, plus 800. Actually, I might have got them at plus 1,000 at one point before the season started. So how are we feeling about Michigan jumping on at plus 340?
That was the 340. I knew that figure was in there somewhere. So this is Michigan to win the Natty.
That's it. Win it all.
This is
I'll-
not. Go ahead, Trev. Go ahead, Trev.
Oh, just a note, this is the second best odds behind Georgia.
Yeah, and second best odds, that makes sense because I feel like they're the second best team quite clearly. But that's a big big cap to cut, like to get, like to. You can be favored, and like last year, Michigan against TCU, we felt great about it, and we saw what happened. It was heartbreak. Michigan, I think, is worthy of having the second best odds for the national championship, but I don't know if I'm going to bet on it because that's so hard to win a national championship. You can be the best team and lose a national championship, and I also think Georgia is probably the best team. But Michigan, can Michigan beat Georgia? For sure. Will they? I don't know. So this one feels like a shot in the dark to me that I don't know if I'll take. I might because I like the odds enough, and it would, sports betting, more than trying to make money, it's to have fun, and that would make it very fun to also have something riding on that national championship with Michigan.
Cody, what you thinking?
Yeah, I'm staying away from it. I don't know. It's not very rah-rah. I think they could do it. I've just never been more unsure. Georgia has shown that they are very mortal. And so this is the year. It's got to be the year. I'm just not quite there yet. Michigan's starting to roll. It's so difficult to tell if they're going to be able to continue to roll against solid opponents. They haven't played anybody yet. And I do think they have it in them to beat up on the rest of the Big Ten, even beat up Penn State and Ohio State. When you're playing against those SEC teams, it's a different battle. And I think it's possible. I think they could have it in them, but we've yet to see it. So it's tough for me to put money on that happening for the first time. I'm passing for now. It's not the optimist take I'd like to put forward, but it's just where I'm at.
All right, so here's one I'm just going to tell you right off the bat. I like these odds. And that is for Blake Corum to win the Doak Walker Award for Best Running Back. He is currently at plus 600, and he has the second best odds. But here is where it gets interesting. At number 1 best odds is Audric Estime, the running back for Notre Dame. Notre Dame is falling apart. Audric Estime just put forth a 20-yard effort against Louisville. And I think part of the Doak Walker might be that, hey, are you playing for a team contending for the playoffs? Audric Estime isn't. And really, you go down that list, there's not other guys who are killing it. So, yes, we've been a little harder on Corum, but he's leading the country in touchdowns, and he's going to continue to put up just right around a little under 100 yards, and maybe in a game that's big, he might put up a lot more than that. So I like this one. I'm not on it yet, but I think I might, maybe with some of my Montgomery money, see if I can get on the Blake Corum train for the Doak Walker.
What were the odds on that?
Plus 600.
Gimme. I take that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Dark horse in there, Jonathan Brooks from Texas. The difference there is Blake Corum, all of his big games are ahead of him. And his Doak Walker moment is ahead of him. Mm-hmm. So I like that. I like that a lot.
He's also going to put up 150 this weekend on IU. So that'll be the start of it. And sky's the limit from there. Just got to stay healthy.
If he has good games against like Ohio State, Penn State, coming up, he's got the touchdowns already. Like, he's leading the nation in touchdowns. And so he's got at least the one stat category. He doesn't necessarily have to finish in first place on yards. He just has to win over the hearts of America in these big games. And I go, yeah, that guy's the best running back. I like it.
Last one for Michigan. Heisman odds. I can already tell you I don't like these, but if you guys want to sprinkle on, I understand because it's fun. JJ is at plus 2,200 odds. That puts him at 7th overall. And I don't love it because he's not going to be as statistically comparable to Michael Penix or Bo Nix or Caleb Williams or really anyone that's going to be in this conversation. But he is high up in the odds.
I saw some sort of Bleacher Report poll that was asking if like JJ should be like near the top of the finalists for the Heisman, and I clicked no. He shouldn't. And then that gave me the results of the poll, and like the majority of people said like yeah, or he's almost there. And sure, there were Michigan fans, and it's like I love the optimism, but like you said, statistically, he's not there, and he never will be with the way this Michigan offense is run. That's just the reality of the situation. I do love him, and he is a great quarterback for us, but Michigan doesn't pump out Heisman quarterbacks, and under this system, they never will. I like the odds for Blake Corum much better.
And that's the next part. Blake Corum is at plus 5,000 odds. So quite a bit down the list compared to JJ. I think that's a better shot if you want to take one. I'm not sure if I want to fire on that one, but at plus 5,000 you can really just sprinkle, put a buck on it. You could 50 to 1 is pretty nice. So that's my last one for Michigan. I have a decent amount for the Lions, and we'll maybe go rapid fire here, but there's some really fun ones here.
Let's do it.
Lions by 3 points. So they're favored by 3, and they're going to the Buccaneers this week. Do you guys have a lean here?
Yeah, I'm taking the Lions.
Me too. Yeah.
There's a chance maybe you tease it to 2.5, see what that does to your odds, because I really love that 2.5, I think, is much easier to cover than 3. It may not seem like it, but you have a lot of games that are decided by just a field goal. And so if that doesn't move the odds much, 2.5, that's a great place to get in on. I think the Lions could win this one, by a touchdown or more. And reason being, records are similar. Buccaneers haven't played anybody. And when they did play somebody, they got punched in the mouth. So I think that maybe they're, maybe a tiny bit overrated. I mean, they are leading their division. So, you got to give them credit for that. I think the Lions are just that much better. So I really like them to cover this one.
All right. You too, Trav?
Yeah. I feel like that's easy. I feel like that line's wrong.
Yeah, I watching the Lions play the Panthers, I was really kicking myself for not really jumping on that line. You just needed to see it a little bit longer to really believe. And with those injuries, and then, man, did they look good. So I'm still hesitant. There's that part of me, that battered lion syndrome, that is telling me, oh, something's going to happen. But I think the Lions are a lot better team than the Buccaneers. So I'm definitely thinking about hitting that line pretty hard. Next one.
Go ahead.
Go
Never
ahead.
mind. I was just going to credit them for the grit that they have, because my concern going into the year was depth. Didn't think they had it, but they really have completely exhibited next man up. They've demonstrated that so well. We've been picking up injuries. You would think that they'd start slowing down at some point, but they really haven't. And so I've been thoroughly impressed with what we've seen from some of these replacements, and of course some of the standouts. They're looking really good, and I don't think the Buccaneers are going to be able to stop that.
So this next one is not something I don't think anyone's going to want to put money on, but this is just to demonstrate how the tides have changed. The Lions are currently favored to win the NFC North with an odds of negative 450. 400. So those are odds where you don't even really touch it because it just doesn't make sense. That is how favorited the Lions are to win their division for the first time ever.
So just kind of parlay that one with an anytime Blake Corum touchdown score, and you'll be good to go.
Can you parlay futures with a weekly
Don't
bet?
think that's the case, but that was pretty funny.
Yeah, I like that.
I also have the Lions' current over-under win total. So I believe it was like 9.5, I think, entering the season. It is currently at 11.5, which I think is perfect. I think that's right where I would set it too. Do you guys have a feel? Do you want to go over-under there?
I hate it just because if you get 11 wins on the season, you should be ecstatic. That is a monstrous season. That's a really, really good season. That's an overachievement for sure. And yet, I think they can get more. I think they could realistically get 12 wins this season. You go beyond that, and it seems like you're talking crazy. So I don't like either side of that, because I'm certainly not going to bet the under. I'm not cheering against these Lions to lose. and there's no reason to think they're gonna. They are playing amazing football right now. So, like I said, great line. I'm staying away from that one. I wish I would have just jumped in on it when it was 9.5. My prediction for the season was 10. And I think that's looking pretty good at the moment, but I just didn't put any money on it, and I'm an idiot for doing so.
I need to review the numbers because I think my prediction was 11 or 12.
Love that, Trav.
I think
You
I
just
tweeted
had to-
it more.
You just
Yeah,
had to
Vegas.
predict it enough times in a row, and
That's true,
eventually,
every year.
eventually it was going to happen.
I've never
Although I could
predicted
say
the
that
Lions
50
to win
years ago
12 games. That's nuts.
You could say that for the past 50 years, and it wouldn't have been true.
All right, so another bet that you're not going to want to make, but the opposite side you can emotionally hedge. The Lions are negative 1,100 odds to make the playoffs, which makes sense if they're favored strongly to win their division. But negative 1,100 odds, another type of odds you're not going to touch. It's just way too much juice if you want to actually make money. You'd have to bet $1,100 if you want to make $100. However, if you're a Lions fan who really wants to see this team make the playoffs, but you can emotionally hedge here because to miss the playoffs, the odds are plus 650. So you put a little bit money on them to miss the playoffs. If something horrible happened and they cratered and missed the playoffs, you could have a hefty chunk of change to make you, you can wipe your eyes with the dollar bills.
Yeah.
Even
I like that
I
thought.
still don't think I'll touch because I'm so all in. I'm ready to be hurt if something horrible was to happen. But I'm putting that out there.
I like that thought because, I mean, just imagine how much would you be willing to pay to put the Detroit Lions in the playoffs?
Right.
I would pay a lot. And I'm not saying that you put a bet up to that limit, but if you bet comfortably to how much you'd be willing to pay for the Lions to be in the playoff, you lose, they're in the playoff. You paid for it. If they don't, you're going to make a lot of money. Or
Right.
at least if you're as sick as I am and your figure is as high as mine would be, you'd make a lot of money. So that's kind of a win. But actually, the first thing I took away from that, brand, was can you just believe that we're negative 1,100 odds to make the
know.
playoff? Never in my wildest dreams. I've just wanted to sniff
Look
the
at us.
playoff.
Who would have
Man.
thought?
Who would have
would've
thought? I mean, the goal is still to win a playoff game. Let's
Yes.
we gotta win. But that's just, man. I used to
So-
pray for times like this. This is
Yes.
That's just incredible.
The thing about DraftKings is they don't have the vocabulary of a Lions fan, so they don't have to win a playoff game. However, they do have to win your conference. And this is where, as a Lion fan, you start
Nope.
to this is
Nope.
the pie in the sky, I think.
Not entertaining
Plus
those ideas.
700 to win the conference.
To go
Which
to
is-
the Super Bowl.
To go to the Super Bowl, especially with the way the
Niners.
49ers look, the way the Eagles look. Whew, that might be the absolute ceiling. And then plus 1,500 to win the Super Bowl. Still think those odds are too low for me to want to jump in.
I was gonna say only plus 1,500 to win the Super Bowl. Like
Everyone loves the Lions.
I know we're looking
Seriously.
good, but that's crazy. You have to beat the Niners. That's to assume you even get to the Niners. And then you have to beat the Chiefs. We beat the Chiefs. But in the Super Bowl, that's not happening. Are you kidding?
Heck, you got to beat the
They're
NFL
never-
and the Cowboys to get to the conference championship.
They will never let that happen.
And we saw what happened last time we had to play the Cowboys in the playoffs. So
Different Lions, Trav. Different Lions.
I had a different NFL who likes this Lions, but I'm still saying playoff Cowboys is still. I've been a proponent for the Lions are the NFL darlings right now, but the playoffs they reshuffled the darlings.
I'm telling you, they are. Yeah, exactly. They're the NFL's cash cow, the new cash cow. They're not that darling yet.
All right, so I've got a couple individual player awards or coach awards, and this one is interesting to me. It also shows just how well he's playing. Aiden Hutchinson is currently listed with the 4th best odds for Defensive Player of the Year. And those odds put him at plus 1,500. So he is behind, you could probably guess, Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons, and who's the other one?
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt. Then Aiden Hutchinson. That's our defensive end listed with those guys. How cool is that? Second of all,
Even cooler if you're a Jaguars fan.
Oh man, what a terrible draft pick that was.
Gosh.
The thing
Thank
is,
goodness.
we obviously have been watching these games. Aiden Hutchinson is a one-man wrecking crew. He leads the NFL in pressures, and even with not finishing as many as you hope, I mean, there's a reason for that. There's not enough pressure on the other side. He still is getting his sacks, and he just made an interception last week on an insane play. If he continues at the pace he is at now, I don't hate these odds, which is insane. I never would have thought I'd be saying in year 2, Aiden Hutchinson is a legitimate contender for Defensive Player of the Year. That's where we're at.
Yeah, dude, Hutch is a machine. He's a menace. I meant to send you guys something earlier today. I saw.
I know what it is.
Yeah. Hutch rushes the quarterback like
does.
Waluigi.
I was waiting to
This
say
is how
that too, so
Waluigi
I'm glad
would
you
rush the
said it.
quarterback. Arms just flailing, knees
It's
driving.
So accurate.
And
All
it's
he
like
needs
those
to-
long strides.
Yep.
All he needs is to hit the crotch chop after a sack, and my life will be made. Maybe throw a little wah in there.
Well,
yeah,
unfortunately, I think the NFL is a little more strict with celebrations than Nintendo.
Well, here's
Because if he put forth the Waluigi crotch chop, he would get flagged for sure.
Mario
whereas
is coming
Nintendo
out.
is fine with it.
With
you're-
a football game. What are the odds they have a Waluigi sack celebration of the crotch chop?
You know,
I
I
know.
want to say low, but they allowed Waluigi to get away with it 2 games in a row. So it wasn't a mistake.
Aiden Hutchinson is a menace, and so is Waluigi. The
Yeah.
comparisons are strong.
Mm-hmm.
The collab needs to happen yesterday.
Bran, what were the odds?
Plus 1,500.
I'd sprinkle on that. I don't
Yeah.
love it though because I think we're still looking through glasses with shades of Honolulu blue. He's not yet, a top 3 edge in the NFL. But he's darn near it. And if he keeps racking up picks like he does, it's possible. I think it's worth a sprinkle, but I wouldn't put a ton on it just yet.
Yeah, and
You
what
say
I've
not
watched
top 3 edge, but he's probably top 3 defensive end. Because when you include edge, you're talking about those stand-up rushers like TJ Watt or
Right.
Micah Parsons. I mean, the only guy listed ahead of him is Myles Garrett at his position, and he's listed ahead of Nick Bosa, who won it last year.
That is wild.
I've watched TJ Watt a few times this year. He's still a maniac.
Oh, he's amazing.
Like he had a strip touchdown the other day. It's just like, and then this week he had another fumble recovery, just like a sack fumble. He just does it constantly. But the thing is, we've been watching Aiden a lot. He's been doing some of those exciting things, like that interception. That was a Heisman moment, a Defensive Player of the Year kind of moment. That was sick.
All right, I'm swung. Put it all on Hutch. I mean, I'm already so excited watching him play. This just gives me all the more reason.
All right, well, obviously it's not the best timing. Those odds are the worst they've ever been. If you were to
Yeah.
catch it before the season, I don't even know what they would have been at. But
If you'd have even been able to find him.
if he was even listed, exactly. We'll move on to Coach of the Year. And wouldn't you know it, Dan Campbell is the odds-on favorite at plus 380 to win the Coach of the Year.
Who's do you know who's behind him?
I don't. I didn't care as
Oh.
much. I saw him number 1, and I said, good enough for me. I
Yeah,
can
I'm
bring
trying
it
to
back
think.
up, but it might take me a minute.
I'm trying to think who would compete, because they do take into account like not just
Where
being
you've
an
been.
awesome team. Yeah, like how you got there and where
Might
you've
be
been.
Mike McDaniel would be maybe my guess.
Oh,
the Dolphins.
yeah. He's been a. People are really
He's a
loving
darling.
him. He had an awesome interview question the other day, where the interview guy asked him, like, "Hey, you set the record for points scored in the first 5 weeks. How do you feel?" And he was like, "You know what? Yeah, that was the beginning of the year. That was our goal. Was 5 weeks. We wanted to have the record for most points ever scored." And then he winked at the guys, like, "Obviously not. The season's hardly started." And
I did
he
love that.
He said it so dryly. I really liked it. But yeah, he's a darling. He'd be hard to pick again. I might sprinkle a bet
Mike
on him.
McDaniel's number 2 at plus 400. Kyle Shanahan at plus 650, which, you know what?
That's a good
49ers,
pick.
the way they're looking, they go undefeated. It's possible.
Sprinkle a little bit on all of them.
You go undefeated, you deserve
if you pick
it.
3 there, you're going to be still positive if one of those 3 wins.
Exactly. That's what I'm probably doing there. I really like the possibility of Campbell winning that. I don't love jumping on it when he's the betting favorite. So yeah, I would probably pick a couple others as well. Just end up positive. Maybe 2 if you want to make that a bit more lucrative. But I think picking between those 3 or picking all of those 3, there's a good chance one of them is going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so defensive rookie of the year. Last year, Hutch was second place here to Sauce Gardner. And we've got another guy in contention, although he is hurt right now. Tied for third best odds, Brian Branch at also plus 1,500 odds. Unfortunately, he does have some studs ahead of him. At a monstrous negative 175 odds is Jalen Carter. So you're not even getting positive value for Jalen Carter. Then you got Devin Witherspoon, and then Will Anderson is who he's tied with at 1,500 odds. So I am not going to jump on this one, but just that's another encouragement. We've got another guy right in the midst of a Defensive Rookie of the Year award. Unfortunately, it's also a discouragement because the guy that we should have drafted, Jalen Carter, is so strongly a favorite here.
Jalen
Witherspoon
Carter looks like a
was in the
monster.
mix to be picked by us as well.
Yeah.
Yes, and now we need him because our cornerbacks have really. We've had a lot of injuries. This is devastating for Mosley, who tore his ACL again.
Poor guy.
His first game he came back. You guys got anything there, or should I jump to my last one?
I mean,
Not
I
touching
thought for certain that Hutch would have gotten it last year and didn't. So I don't think I'm confident enough on that one. I know they're different players, different positions, but that's a tough award to win, and there are some studs ahead of him. And being injured, like you said, doesn't help, so I'm not touching that one.
Yeah, Jalen Carter. I'm not going to bet on Witherspoon. I think he's had a hot start, but it's hard to keep that production going from a cornerback position. But Jalen Carter looks unstoppable. Like watching the Eagles-Rams game, he had so much pressure. Just what a luxury to have that in your interior defensive line from a rookie.
Off the snap, he's just so fast, and he immediately enters a swim move or some type of move to get beyond the guard without even really having to bull rush. And he can bull rush because he's a beast. Like, man, what a fantastic player. The last one, I do like it if the pace continues and the odds are really good. Offensive Rookie of the Year, Sam Laporta is tied for 6th, and his odds are plus 2,500. Unfortunately, he does have some studs ahead of him that probably with their positions are going to take priority. Obviously, C.J. Stroud, he has started electric out of the gate. Bijan Robinson, Cody's boy Puka Nacua, and then Anthony Richardson and Zay Flowers ahead of him. Really, the guys that scare me more is just the top 3. I don't think AR-15 is going to be a threat.
No,
I think he's going to fade. Zay Flowers is not in an offense that's going to showcase him enough. Sam Laporta is playing at a historic pace.
Yeah.
I don't know if he can continue it. It's hard for me to say, yeah, he's going to continue to just catch a touchdown pass like every game, and the Lions are going to target him like 7 or 8 times. but they could. And he has answered the bell every single time. At plus 2,500 odds, that might be one to circle.
That's the thing with the Lions, even last year, when we didn't have a good tight end, they targeted the tight end last year a lot, but they spread the wealth out between 2 or 3 guys. This year, they're spreading it out between 2, but it's not spread out. They're giving 7 targets to one guy and then 2 to the backup. It's Laporta's getting his share, and will the touchdowns continue? I don't know, but the targets I think are going to continue because his routes and the way he gets open, I can't remember what it's called when you set the block and then you just spring out.
Mm-hmm.
He's been awesome on that. That's what he did on the flea flicker when he got the touchdown. When it was flicked back to Goff, Laporta was practically at the line still. But the way that the play was drawn up, it was just awesome. Laporta, I think, is going to get thrown to a lot. So I like those options. But I think unless Bijan goes off, I think it's C.J. Stroud's award to lose.
Yep.
These odds annoy me because, honestly, I think if it was him being 6th, I think is a good place to get him. But I think him being 6th just shows how biased the award is by position. He literally leads the league in reception yards by tight ends. As a rookie, that's unheard of. There is nobody else on that list that is leading their position like that. He's also leading in touchdowns for tight ends. That's unheard of. It's ridiculous how well Laporta is playing right now. He should be in the top 3, but he's a tight end, so it doesn't matter. You're trying to tell me Zay Flowers is ahead of him? No. Is he leading the league in receptions or receiving yards? No. He's not there. Puka Nacua, he should be up there. Puka's a stud. And he just shared the field with Cooper Kupp this past weekend. Still looked amazing.
Still got his.
When he came into that, and people were questioning, is Puka still going to get his share with Kupp coming back? That shouldn't be a question because Kupp is a freak and gets targeted like no other. Puka still did.
No, I think the question now is, can Kupp keep up with Puka Nacua? Who had more fantasy points this last weekend? The Pookster. So, yeah, I'm pretty high on Puka Nacua. That dude's a freak, and I love him.
Kupp still was targeted a bajillion times in that game.
Oh, he was.
And had like 8 receptions in the first half, I think.
For sure.
He was putting up Puka numbers.
Just so irreverent, and I love it. So, yeah, Puka's up there, stud. Stroud's been doing really well. You got to hand it to him. But I think even...
It's traditionally a quarterback award.
It's a quarterback...
Yeah. The rookie is that turns out to be decent. Like, okay, he's the offensive rookie of the year. The one
he's still
thing
only
I'll say,
thrown for 7 touchdowns. But,
right.
I mean, he's kept his nose clean.
No
interceptions. So that is...
Record.
That is amazing. You know who else has done that, like, a lot? Not at the start of this year. Jared Goff. Nobody was putting him in the MVP race. He kept his nose clean. But he was a rookie
listed,
quarterback.
but so far down that I didn't bother with it. And I also just don't think it's realistic because he's kind of putting up like JJ numbers where he goes low 200s and he doesn't throw interceptions that much. And although last week he did have 3 touchdowns and 1 rushing, so that was one of his better performances.
It makes me so happy to hear you say that. If you remember my comparison from a couple weeks ago, that Jared Goff is J.J. McCarthy in his Geno Smith era. So I'm just willing it into existence. I know we got Hendon Hooker. Sorry, dude. We're getting J.J. He's going to be a Lion, and it's going to be beautiful.
The last thing I just want to say about Laporta, why I like this pick, is the league has shifted a lot of attention to the tight end position.
Thank you, Taylor Swift.
Yeah, with the elevation of Travis Kelce. Before him, obviously, Gronkowski got a lot of shine. And if Laporta was to, and this is just crazy, I know, but Cody said it, he's leading in yards and touchdowns. If this was to continue, and he is at the end of the season possibly leading in one of those categories, and he's on a team in the playoffs compared to C.J. Stroud, who will not be. I could see him taking this home, even as a tight end.
If this was an NBA award, that's all that would matter, was being on a contributor.
That's fair. Maybe it's worth a sprinkle, but it's a quarterback's position. Even if it's not, it's Puka's to lose. So he's got a tough battle ahead of him, but we've seen how Detroit uses tight ends. He's already shown that he's capable of that production. Trav, you said it. He's going to keep getting the receptions. They're going to keep targeting this guy. Bona fide stud. Couldn't be more impressed and proud of that draft pick. Knock that one out of the park.
I think the only way that his receptions go down is if the Lions actually start throwing to Jahmyr Gibbs. And
won't happen.
Well, and Jameson Williams.
Well, I don't know if Jameson takes away from what Laporta does. Jameson did take some quick snap kind of screen stuff, so that does take away a play if Jameson's getting a lot of receptions like that. But what Laporta gives the Lions is different, and I think it's kind of some of those check down. It's not Goff's first look is Laporta often, but Laporta's just open. And I think the player that takes that away potentially is Gibbs, if the Lions get there with Gibbs. It doesn't look like they're going to, but it seems like they want to. So that's my prediction. If Laporta's goes down, it will only be because of Gibbs, is what I think. But we'll see if that happens.
That is my last one. We're all out.
Well, there's definitely some good food for debate there. So, I'm curious to hear what those on the Discord have to say. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Please bet responsibly.
Yes. Sprinkle.
Or don't.
I had one more pick I like. I really like LSU. They are favored by 11.5 versus Auburn.
I had that too.
LSU is a dumpster fire. Offensively, they're fantastic, and defensively, they're terrible. And I think that Auburn might be the offense to get their defense back on track. Auburn cannot throw the ball, and that's what LSU can't defend, is the air game. But Auburn just wants to run the ball, and LSU, they're not the best, but they're not the worst against the run. So I think this is a spot. It's at LSU, so Death Valley, one of the hardest places to play. I really like LSU here by at least 12 points.
Yep, I had that on my list.
That's a bonus
as well.
for anyone who stuck around for an hour and 45 minutes.
Your bonus, Western Michigan, Miami, Ohio. Western is 8.5-point underdog. They are not the worst team in the country. They are the kings of covering. Watch that one closely. I won't say it's a lock, but watch it.
Love that. If you want to keep getting more picks like that, or get some more of our best bet locks of the week, of course, you can subscribe to the Patreon. Only $5 a month. But
all right, hold up, Cody. Showdown. I'm taking Miami, Ohio. It's a battle, boys.
All right, you're on. 8.5.
I need in on this somehow. Weather cancellation. It's a push. You both lose.
All right, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just had to get that in there. I had to fight Travis because I think Western Michigan is one of the worst teams. And yet they have covered a few games. You're right.
They played really well against Toledo until the end, and they played decent against Mississippi State last week.
Nah, you're fine. I just figured it's probably about time we get these fine folks to work or to bed or wherever they're off to. We're thankful that you let us be a part of it, a part of your commute or whenever you listen to us. Thanks for being a part of this community. We look forward to hearing more of your thoughts on maybe some of these picks or even what you think about this format. Is this something you'd like to see more of? We don't know, but it's fun for us. Hopefully it was fun for you too. We will see you guys in the next one. Be sure to interact with the Pick'em. We'll have that posted for you momentarily. Stay frosty, friends, and we'll see you next time.